The grand ballroom of the imperial palace gleamed under 1,000 floating lights. Crystal pillars rose toward the ceiling like frozen waterfalls, and the polished floor reflected everything like a perfect mirror. Tonight was the Convergence Gala, the most important event of the year for the Vraxian Empire. Nobles from 12 star systems had gathered here, wearing their finest clothes and their proudest expressions. Princess Hana walked through the crowd with her head held high. Her crystalline skin caught the light beautifully, making her look like she was made of diamonds. She was young, only 23 years old, and everyone said she was the most beautiful of the Emperor's daughters. More importantly, everyone did what she wanted. They always had. She stopped suddenly, her eyes narrowing at something across the room. Near the eastern entrance stood a guard in dark armor. Nothing unusual about that. The palace had hundreds of guards, but this one was different. This one was human. How strange, Hana said, loudly enough for her friends to hear. They let a human stand, guard at the gala. What's next? Will they let the cleaning robots sit at the dinner table? Her companions giggled. Lady Mireille covered her mouth with her hand. Lord Jinwoo smiled behind his drink. They always laughed at Hana's jokes. That's what friends did. Hana moved closer to the guard. He stood perfectly still, eyes forward, hands at his sides. She noticed he wore thick black gloves. How odd. None of the other guards wore gloves like that. You there, Hana called out. Human. The guard didn't move. Didn't even blink. I'm speaking to you, creature. Hana stepped right in front of him. She had to look up slightly. He was taller than she expected. Most humans were short, she thought. Or was she thinking of another species? Finally, the guard's eyes moved to look at her. They were dark brown, almost black. His face showed nothing. No anger, no fear, no respect. Nothing. Your Highness, he said quietly. Just those 2 words. That's better. Tell me your name. Guard Tae-hyun. Your Highness. Tae-hyun. She said it slowly, like she was tasting something unpleasant. A human name. How fitting. Tell me, Tae-hyun, what does a human guard do here? Do they trust you with real duties, or do you just stand here and look decorative? I protect the guests, Your Highness. Protect us? Hana laughed. From what? Bad conversation? You couldn't protect us from anything real. Look at you, standing there in all that armor. Are you afraid someone might break you? More nobles had gathered now. They sensed entertainment. Princess Hana was known for her sharp tongue, and watching her mock someone was always amusing, especially when that someone couldn't fight back. Duke Quan joined the circle. He was old and bored and always looking for something interesting. I heard humans need special equipment just to walk on our worlds. Something about weak bones. Is that true? Hana asked Tae-hyun. Do you need help walking? No, Your Highness. Then why all the armor? You look like you're preparing for war. This is a party, human. We're civilized here. We don't solve our problems with violence like your people did. Tae-hyun said nothing. His jaw tightened slightly, but that was all. Hana was enjoying herself now. She circled him like a hunter studying prey. I read about Earth once. You know what I learned? 100 years ago, you were dropping nuclear bombs on each other, your own people, your own planet. Savages, killing savages. That was a long time ago, Your Highness. Was it? 100 years is nothing. My grandmother is older than your entire space program. Your children playing in the garden of civilization that we built. Was. She reached out and tapped his chest plate. The armor made a dull sound. What are you hiding under all this? Are you afraid we'll see how weak you really are? Your Highness, a new voice interrupted. An old human man approached, bowing deeply. He wore the robes of an ambassador. Perhaps we could discuss the trade agreements your father mentioned? I believe he wanted your thoughts on the grain shipments. Hana barely glanced at him. Not now, Ambassador Dongwu. I'm having a conversation with your guard. Nevertheless, Princess, perhaps I said not now. Her voice carried the weight of royal command. Hana turned back to Taehyun. She was standing very close now. Close enough to see the small scars on his face, the ones his armor didn't cover. Close enough to see how still he stood, like a statue made of stone. "These gloves," she said, reaching for his hand. "They're ridiculous. Why do you wear them? All the other guards have normal hands." Taehyun moved his hand away slightly. Not much. Just enough to avoid her touch. "Regulations. Your Highness. Regulations," she repeated mockingly. "Let me see. Take them off." "I'd prefer not to, Your Highness." The crowd went silent. "You didn't refuse a direct order from a princess. Not ever. Not if you wanted to keep your position. Not if you wanted to stay in the palace." Hana's eyes went cold. "You prefer? You prefer?" She let her telepathic power flare. Most species could feel it when a Vraxian used their mental abilities. It felt like pressure in your head, like someone pushing against your thoughts. But Taehyun just stood there. Humans, she remembered, were resistant to telepathy. Something about their chaotic brain patterns. How annoying. "Take off your gloves," Hana said slowly, "or I will have you removed from the palace guard and sent back to Earth. I will make sure you never serve in the Empire again. Do you understand me?" Ambassador Dongwu looked panicked. "Princess, please. There are protocols for equipment removal. Safety protocols. If we could just—" "I don't care about protocols. I care that this human is refusing a royal command in front of the entire gala." Hana's voice echoed across the ballroom. Everyone was watching now. Even the musicians had stopped playing. Taehyun looked across the room at another guard, a Vraxian captain with silver skin. The captain hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Permission granted. As you command, Your Highness." Taehyun said quietly. He reached for his right glove. The movement was slow and deliberate. He pulled at the fingers one by one, loosening the material. Then, he gripped the glove at the wrist and pulled. The glove came off. Hana stared at his hand. At first, she didn't understand what she was seeing. It was just a hand. 5 fingers. A palm. A wrist. Normal. Human. But then, Lady Mireille gasped. "Those scars." Hana looked closer. Taehyun's hand was covered in old scars. Burns on the knuckles. Long, thin lines across the palm. Small, round marks that looked like they came from something hot. His fingers were rough and calloused, the knuckles enlarged and hard. "What happened to your hand?" Hana asked. The mockery had left her voice. "Life." "Your Highness." Taehyun began removing the second glove. "Work. Service. These are just the marks of living." Taehyun. The second hand was the same, maybe worse. A large burn scar ran from his wrist, halfway up his forearm. "Your medical technology," Duke Kwan said slowly. "Can't you remove scars?" "We can," Taehyun replied. "We choose not to. Scars are proof of survival. They're proof we lived through something." Hana opened her mouth to say something else. Something clever and cutting. But then she felt it. A vibration under her feet. Very small, but definitely there. "Do you feel that?" someone asked. The vibration came again. And again. Like a rhythm. Like a heartbeat. "It's coming from the floor," Lady Mireille said, pointing down. Everyone looked at the crystal floor beneath Taehyun's feet. There were lines in it now. Thin cracks spreading out like a spider's web. The floor was breaking. "What's happening?" Hana stepped back. The Vraxian captain ran forward with a scanning device. He pointed it at Taehyun. Then at the floor. Then at Taehyun again. His crystalline face went pale. "His armor," the captain said. "It's not protection. It's a weight regulator. He's been wearing it to make himself lighter." "Lighter?" Duke Kwan didn't understand. Why would he need to be lighter? Because Earth is a heavy world. 1.4 times our standard gravity. The captain checked his scanner again. Without the regulator, he weighs. The floor cracked again. Louder this time. Approximately 240 kilograms in our gravity. Someone in the crowd did the calculation. That's more than 3 Vraxians. Hana stared at Taehyun. He wasn't moving. He was just standing there, trying to stay still. But his weight, his real weight, was pressing down on the crystal floor. The floor that had stood for 300 years without a scratch. The floor that was supposedly unbreakable. It was breaking now. The armor, Hana whispered. You've been wearing weights? This whole time? To make yourself lighter? Yes, Your Highness. Standard protocol for heavy world species serving on lighter gravity planets. We wear the equipment, so we don't accidentally damage property. He paused. Or people. The word hung in the air. People. He had been limiting himself, so he wouldn't accidentally hurt them. These delicate, crystalline Vraxians, who broke so easily, and she had called him weak. The cracks in the floor spread wider. They made small popping sounds as they grew, like ice breaking on a frozen lake. Taehyun stood very still, but everyone could see the problem. Every second he stood there. The floor broke a little more. Everyone needs to move back, the Vraxian captain ordered. This section isn't stable. The nobles scattered. They ran in their elegant clothes and expensive jewelry, suddenly very aware that the floor beneath them might collapse. Only Hana stayed close, staring at the damage spreading from where Taehyun stood. I don't understand, she said. You're just standing there. You're not even moving. That's the problem, Your Highness. Taehyun shifted his weight very carefully. More cracks appeared. This floor was built for Vraxian weight. It can handle normal foot traffic, even crowded parties. But it wasn't designed for someone like me. A palace engineer ran up with more scanning equipment. She was young for an engineer. Probably still in training. Her hands shook as she read the numbers. The stress readings are impossible. He's creating pressure points that exceed the floor's rated capacity by 300%. How? Duke Kwan demanded. He's just one person. 2. The engineer pointed at her screen. Earth's gravity is 1.4 times what we consider standard. Every species evolves to match their home world. Humans evolved under that heavier gravity. Their bones are denser. Their muscles are stronger. Everything about them is built to handle more weight. So, on our world, Lady Mireille said slowly, he's stronger than normal. Not stronger, the engineer corrected. He has the same strength he always has. But here, where gravity is lighter, that strength goes further. He can lift more. He can run faster. He can jump higher. And he weighs more than his size suggests. Taehyun spoke quietly. We train for this. All humans who serve off Earth go through special training. We learn to control our strength, to move carefully, to wear the regulation equipment so we fit in with everyone else. The gloves, Hana realized. That's why you wear them. Human grip strength is dangerous on lighter gravity worlds. We've had accidents. Broken bones from handshakes. Crushed tools. Damaged equipment. The gloves have sensors that limit our grip. They keep us from accidentally hurting people. Ambassador Dongwu had been standing at the edge of the crowd. Now he stepped forward, his old face sad. We've reported these issues to the council many times. We've asked for better accommodations, for spaces where humans can remove their equipment safely. The requests are always denied. Why? Hana asked. Because heavy worlders make people nervous, Your Highness. There are protocols, regulations, all designed to make sure we don't remind anyone what we really are. And what are you really? The question came from Duke Kwan. He sounded genuinely curious now, not mocking. Taehyun looked at the Duke. We're people who evolved on a difficult world. Earth doesn't make things easy. The gravity pulls you down every second of every day. You grow up fighting that weight just to walk, to run, to climb. Your bones get stronger to handle it. Your muscles adapt. You become what you need to be, to survive. And then you come here, Lady Mireille said, where everything is easier, lighter. Yes. Imagine if you went to a world where gravity was half of normal. You could jump twice as high, lift twice as much. You'd feel like you had superpowers. That's what it's like for us. Except we can't show it. We have to hide it, because it makes people uncomfortable. An alarm started blaring. The engineer looked at her equipment and went pale. The entire floor section is compromised. It's going to collapse. Everyone needs to evacuate now. The nobles needed no more encouragement. They ran for the exits in a mass of panic. Servants and guards helped guide them away from the damaged area. The beautiful gala turned into chaos in seconds. Hana stayed where she was. She couldn't stop staring at the cracks spreading from Taehyun's position. You did all this just by standing here? Yes, Your Highness. I'm sorry. Don't apologize. I ordered you to remove your equipment. This is my fault. Friend. No one expected this much damage, Ambassador Dongwu said. The palace floors are supposed to be reinforced. They should handle heavy world species without any problem. The engineer overheard him. They are reinforced. For visiting dignitaries who might be heavy worlders. But those visits are scheduled. We add support beams underneath. We prepare. This was unexpected. This section has no extra support. A horrible cracking sound echoed through the ballroom. Not small cracks anymore. Big ones. The floor was really breaking now. You need to move, the captain told Taehyun. Get to the reinforced military section. Now. Taehyun took one careful step. The crystal beneath his boot shattered. He froze. Don't move, the engineer shouted. If you step wrong, the whole section could go at once. Then, what do I do? I don't know. I've never seen anything like this. The captain was checking his datapad, scrolling through information quickly. According to your service record, you were in the Earth Defense Force before joining the Embassy Guard. You fought in the border wars. Yes, sir. Then you've trained in hostile environments, unstable ground, collapse situations. Yes, sir. But usually with a team and proper equipment. Work with what you have. We'll clear the area. You get yourself to safety however you can. The captain started moving people further back. The engineer went with him, still watching her instruments. Ambassador Dongwu hesitated, looking at Taehyun with worry. But finally he too stepped away. Only Hana remained. Your Highness, you should go, Taehyun said. In a moment. She was thinking about what the engineer had said. About how humans trained to control their strength. About how they wore equipment to hide what they could do. How often do you wear the regulation gear? Anytime I'm around non-humans, Your Highness. Which is most of the time now. I've been with the embassy for 3 years. I wear the gear every day. Even when you sleep? No. We have quarters with reinforced floors and furniture. We can be ourselves there. But everywhere else, you're pretending. Limiting yourself. Walking carefully, so you don't break anything. It's not pretending, Your Highness. It's consideration. Your people built something beautiful here. This palace. This empire. I don't want to break it just by existing. A loud crack interrupted them. This time it wasn't beneath Taehyun. It was across the ballroom, where the panicked nobles had clustered together. Too many people in one spot. Too much weight. The floor there gave way. People screamed. Most jumped back in time. But one young Vraxian, barely more than a boy, didn't move fast enough. He fell through the hole. His hands caught the edge, but his grip was slipping. Help me, he screamed. Someone help me. The other nobles backed away from the hole. They wanted to help, but they couldn't. Vraxians were telepathically strong but physically weak. No one there had the strength to pull him up, and the floor around the hole was already cracked. Getting closer might make it collapse further. Someone do something, Lady Mireille cried. Taehyun looked at the boy hanging from the broken floor. looked at the distance between them, looked at the cracked crystal beneath his own feet. Then he moved. Each step created a spiderweb of cracks. Each step made horrible sounds. But Taehyun moved with purpose, choosing his path carefully. He avoided the weakest points. He distributed his weight as much as possible. He crossed the ballroom like he was walking through a minefield. "Stop!" the engineer shouted from the doorway. "You'll bring down the entire floor." But Taehyun didn't stop. He reached the hole and dropped to his knees. The floor around him groaned but held. He spread out his weight, like he'd been trained to do. He reached down to the boy. "Thanks for watching." By fermented, "Grab my hand." The young Vraxian looked up at him. His crystalline face was twisted with fear. His fingers were slipping. He had maybe 5 seconds before he fell. 6 stories to the substructure below. He reached up. His delicate crystalline hand gripped Taehyun's scarred human one. For a moment, nothing happened. The boy was light by human standards, maybe 80 kilograms. But he was dangling from a bad angle. The leverage was terrible. The floor was cracking more. This should be impossible. Then Taehyun pulled. One smooth motion. No strain. No visible effort. He lifted the boy up through the hole and back onto solid floor, like he weighed nothing at all. The ballroom was absolutely silent, except for the boy's gasping breaths. Taehyun checked him quickly. "Are you hurt?" The boy shook his head. He couldn't speak yet. He was too shocked. "Stay here. Don't move until the engineers say it's safe." Taehyun stood up carefully. The floor beneath him cracked more. He needed to get off this section before it all collapsed. He made his way to the doorway where the captain waited. Each step was careful. Each step was calculated. He made it to the reinforced area just as the entire ballroom section behind him gave way with a sound like thunder. Crystal rained down into the darkness below. 300 years of beautiful architecture, gone in seconds. Hana stood at the doorway, staring at the destruction. At the gaping hole, where the ballroom floor used to be. At Taehyun standing there calmly, like he hadn't just saved someone's life and destroyed part of the palace in the same 5 minutes. "You saved him," she whispered. "Yes, Your Highness. No one else could have done that. No one else was strong enough." "No, Your Highness." She looked at his hands. Those scarred, powerful hands that could break floors and save lives. "I called you weak. You didn't know. I should have known. I should have asked. I should have learned." Her voice broke slightly. "I'm sorry. Meinonament. Meinament." Taehyun looked at her for a long moment. Then he said quietly, "The palace was in emergency mode." Alarms echoed through the halls. Engineers ran everywhere with equipment and tools. The gala guests were being moved to secure areas while structural teams assessed the damage. No one had been seriously hurt, but the ballroom was completely destroyed. Hana sat in a small viewing room, watching the work crews through the window. She felt numb. The evening had started with her making fun of a guard. It had ended with that same guard saving someone's life while she watched helplessly. "Your Highness?" A voice at the door. It was Sujin, her personal aide. Sujin was older than Hana, smarter, and usually knew exactly what to say. Right now, she looked worried. "Are you all right?" "I don't know." Hana turned away from the window. "I did something terrible tonight. You made a mistake. Everyone makes mistakes. I humiliated him. I called him names. I ordered him to remove his safety equipment in front of hundreds of people. And he just stood there and took it because he had no choice. Because I'm a princess and he's just a guard." Sujin sat down beside her. "But he saved young Lord Minsu. That's what people will remember." "No. People will remember that a human destroyed the palace ballroom. They'll blame him, not me. Even though this is my fault." "My fault. Then change the story." "How?" Sujin thought for a moment. "Learn, really learn, about humans, about Earth, About what we've been doing to them. Then do something about it. Hana stood up suddenly. The archives. Can you access the Imperial archives from here? Of course. What do you need? Everything. Every file we have on humanity. I want to know who they really are. Sujin moved to the room's console and began typing. Holographic screens appeared in the air, showing file after file. There's not much, Your Highness. Humanity joined the Empire 47 years ago as a client species. Most of the files are just basic information. Show me. The first file was a summary report. Hana read it out loud. Humanity achieved faster-than-light travel in 2181. Made first contact with the Empire in 2183. Applied for membership immediately. Status granted as client species, not full members. Military service in exchange for technology sharing and trade access. Why client species? Hana asked. Why not full membership? Sujin opened another file. This is the council report from the membership vote. It says humanity was considered too volatile, too new to space travel, too recently unified as a species. What does that mean? Recently unified? It means they were fighting each other until very recently. Look at this. Sujin pulled up a historical file. Earth in the mid-22 ND century. Nuclear war. Multiple times. They almost destroyed themselves. Hana stared at the images. Cities in ruins. Wastelands where forests used to be. Oceans poisoned with radiation. They did this to themselves? Yes, they call it the last war. It nearly ended their species. But somehow, they survived. They unified what was left of their governments. They cleaned up the damage. And 50 years later, they built their first faster-than-light ship. That's impossible. You can't recover from that kind of destruction in 50 years. Humans did. That's what makes them special. They're survivors. Hana sat down again, feeling overwhelmed. She'd thought humans were weak, primitive. Instead, they were people who had crawled back from the edge of extinction through sheer will. Show me more. About their world. About Earth. Sujin opened a planetary classification file. Earth is rated as a Class 4 heavy world. 1.4 times standard gravity. High seismic activity. Extreme weather patterns. Dangerous predator species. The report says, it's one of the more hostile worlds in the Empire. And they evolved there. Naturally. Yes. Listen to this part. Sujin read from the file. Humans evolved as pursuit predators. They have exceptional endurance and adaptability. They can run for hours without stopping. They can function in a wide range of temperatures. They heal quickly from injuries. Their pain tolerance is considered extremely high. Pain tolerance? It means they can keep going even when they're hurt. There's a note here from a xenobiologist. It says humans have what they call adrenaline. It's a chemical their bodies produce in dangerous situations. It lets them ignore pain and fatigue for short periods. The biologist calls it biologically enabled combat enhancement. Hana thought about Taehyun's scarred hands. About how he had said the scars were just part of living. They don't heal the scars because they're proud of them. They survived whatever caused those injuries. Apparently. Sujin opened more files. Here's something interesting. Human military records from the border wars. Do you want to see them? Yes. The reports were written by Vraxian commanders who had served alongside human troops. Hana read them one by one. And with each report, her understanding of humanity shifted more. The first report. Human reinforcements arrived at Station 7 during the Krethek attack. They had less advanced weapons than our troops and lighter armor. Expected high casualties. Result. Humans sustained fewer losses than any other unit. Krethek forces retreated after 3 days of combat. Human commander reported 0 soldiers evacuated for medical reasons. The second report. Observed human squad in extended combat situation. 72 hours without relief. No sleep. Minimal food and water. They called this normal operating procedure. Requested psychological evaluation of human troops. Update. Evaluation shows no signs of mental impairment. They are simply capable of more than we understood. A third report. Human soldier continued fighting with broken arm. When questioned, he stated, the arm still worked mostly, and he would report to medical after the mission. Recommend mandatory medical checks. Humans do not accurately report their own injuries. Another. Witnessed human team hold position against Cretic assault force 3 times their size. Position was deemed indefensible by all tactical models. Humans held it anyway. When asked how, their sergeant said, we decided not to leave. This level of determination is not calculable. We their 5 with 2 were, instead are ready. We their 5 with 2. Hana set down the reports. Her hands were shaking. These aren't about soldiers. These are about people who don't know how to quit, who don't understand the concept of impossible. That's what heavy worlders are like, Sujin said quietly. When you grow up on a planet that fights you every single day, you learn to fight back. You learn that giving up means dying. So you don't give up. And we make them wear weights so they don't break our furniture. Hana felt sick. We treat them like children who can't be trusted. We call them weak. We mock them. Not everyone does. Enough do. I did. In front of everyone. Hana stood and began pacing. There was a quote in one of those reports. Do you remember it? Something about humans and retreating. Sujin scrolled back through the files. Here. It's from Commander Taman, Vraxian 3rd Fleet. He wrote, human soldiers do not retreat when injured, unless they are unconscious or dead. They have no word in their military vocabulary for surrender when protecting others. This makes them extremely effective. It also makes them tragic. Quote, tragic. Why tragic? Because they'll die before they fail. That's what the commander means. If you put humans in charge of protecting something, they'll protect it even if it kills them. They can't help it. It's how they're built. Hana thought about Taehyun crossing a collapsing floor to save a boy he didn't know. About how he hadn't hesitated. About how he'd known it might kill him, and done it anyway. We don't deserve them, she whispered. Your Highness? Humans. We don't deserve to have them in the Empire. We treat them like servants. Like they should be grateful we let them join us. But they're not lucky to be here. 365. We're lucky to have them. Sujin smiled slightly. That's a very different view from this morning. This morning I was an idiot. Hana moved back to the console. Are there files on human culture? Art? Philosophy? Anything like that? A few. Not many people study it. Show me. The cultural files were thin. Mostly basic information. But what was there surprised Hana. Humans had thousands of languages, hundreds of distinct cultures. Their art spanned every medium imaginable. Their literature filled libraries. One file caught her attention. Music. It says humans have a special connection to music. What does that mean? Music. Sujin opened the file. Apparently, human brains are wired to respond to rhythm and sound in unique ways. Music can affect their emotions very strongly. They use it for everything. Celebration, mourning, worship, motivation, comfort. Taehyun plays guitar, Hana said suddenly. I read it in his file when I was looking for ways to mock him. I thought it was stupid. A soldier playing music. Maybe that's how he stays balanced. All that strength and discipline, he needs something gentle to balance it out. Hana closed the files. She'd seen enough. Humans weren't simple. They weren't primitive. They were complex people from a difficult world, trying their best to fit into an empire that didn't understand them. And she'd treated one of them like trash. I need to see him again. Taehyun. I need to apologize properly. He's been reassigned, Your Highness. To the military installation outside the city. The floors there are reinforced for heavy worlders. Good. He'll be more comfortable there. Hana paused. But I still need to see him. Can you arrange it? Of course. But Your Highness, what are you planning? I don't know yet. But something needs to change. The way we treat humans, the way we think about them. It's wrong. And if no one else is going to fix it, then maybe I should start. Sujin looked at her princess with new respect. You've grown up a lot in one evening. No, Hana said quietly. I've just finally started seeing clearly. I had my eyes closed before. Now, they're open. She looked out the window at the ruined ballroom. Tomorrow, engineers would start repairs. In a few months, it would be beautiful again. The floor would be reinforced this time. Stronger, better able to handle unexpected weight. Maybe that was a good metaphor. The empire could be reinforced too, could learn to handle the weight of all its people, not just the ones who fit easily into the existing structure. It would take time. It would be hard. But then again, humans had taught her something tonight. Hard things weren't impossible. You just had to decide not to give up. 3 days after the gala, Hana stood outside the military installation at the edge of the capital city. The building was different from the palace. No crystal decorations. No floating lights. Just solid construction, practical, and strong. This was where the Empire's soldiers trained and lived. This was where they sent people who didn't fit in the pretty parts of the city. The guard at the gate recognized her immediately. Your Highness, we weren't expecting you. I'm here to see someone. Guard Tae-hyun. He was recently transferred here. The guard checked his roster. Yes, he's here. But Your Highness, you should know. This facility is designed for heavy worlders. The gravity settings are different inside. It might be uncomfortable for you. I'll manage. Please take me to him. The guard led her through the compound. As soon as they passed through the main doors, Hana felt it. The air felt heavier somehow. Each step took more effort. Her breath came a little harder. The gravity is set to 1.2 standard here, the guard explained. Compromise setting. Heavy enough that heavy worlders can relax a bit, but not so heavy that standard gravity species can't function. The human quarters go up to 1.4. Hana had never experienced anything like this. She'd lived her entire life at standard gravity. She'd never thought about what it meant that some people lived with more weight pressing down on them constantly. After just 2 minutes of walking through the compound, her legs ached. They found Tae-hyun in a training yard. He was teaching a group of younger soldiers, a mix of species. Hana recognized some Vraxians in the group, which surprised her. She'd thought only heavy worlders trained here. Tae-hyun was in the middle of demonstrating something. He wasn't wearing his armor. Just a simple uniform. No gloves. No restrictions. The key is balance, he was telling the students. Strength without control is just destruction. You need to know not just how hard you can hit, but how hard you should hit. Watch. He picked up a training dummy made of reinforced material. The same material they used for starship hulls. He held it in one hand, like it weighed nothing. Then, very gently, he set it down without making a sound. That's control. Now. Same dummy. Different approach. He picked it up again and threw it across the yard. It flew like a missile and crashed into a reinforced wall hard enough to dent the metal. The students looked impressed. One of them, a young Vraxian woman, raised her hand. You don't need to, Tae-hyun said. You have other gifts. Telepathy, for instance. But you still need control. Power without discipline is dangerous no matter what form it takes. He noticed Hana standing at the edge of the yard. For a moment, his expression didn't change. Then he nodded slightly and turned back to his students. That's enough for today. Practice your forms. I'll review them tomorrow. The students bowed and left. The young Vraxian woman walked past Hana and whispered, He's an amazing teacher. Your Highness. Very patient. Once they were alone, Taehyun walked over. He didn't bow as low as he had at the palace. This was his space. The rules were different here. Your Highness, I didn't expect to see you here. I needed to talk to you. About what happened. The ballroom is being repaired. I've been told the Emperor is not pressing charges for the damage. That's generous of him. Charges? Hana was shocked. You saved someone's life. Why would there be charges? I destroyed Imperial property, valuable property. There are consequences for that, even when done under orders. But I ordered you to remove your equipment. If anyone should face consequences, it's me. Taehyun's expression softened slightly. Your Highness, you didn't know what would happen. Neither did I. Honestly. The floor should have held longer. The engineers are investigating why it failed so quickly. Can we talk somewhere private? He gestured toward a small building at the edge of the yard. My office. It's not fancy. He was right. The office was tiny. Just a desk, 2 chairs, and a shelf full of training manuals. But it felt comfortable. Real. The furniture was built for strength, not beauty. Everything had a purpose. Hana sat carefully. The chair was harder than she was used to. Do you like it here? Better than the palace? Yes, I don't have to watch every step. Don't have to worry about breaking things. The other instructors are all combat veterans. They understand. Understand what? What it's like to be dangerous. We all are. In our own ways. But here, we can be honest about it. We teach people how to be dangerous, safely. Hana looked at his hands, still scarred, still powerful, but relaxed now. Resting on the desk. I came to apologize. Properly this time. Not in front of a crowd. Just you and me. Your Highness. Let me finish. Please. She took a breath. I was cruel to you. I said terrible things. I treated you like you were less than me. Not even a person. Just a thing I could insult for entertainment. You were raised to think that way. Taehyun said quietly. The Empire has hierarchies. That's how it functions. That doesn't make it right. And it doesn't excuse what I did. Hana felt tears starting, but pushed them back. After you left, I spent hours reading about humans. About Earth. About the wars and the recovery and everything you've accomplished. Do you know what I learned? What? That humans are amazing. That you survived things that would have destroyed most species. That you took a broken, poisoned world and fixed it. That you fight like nothing I've ever seen. But you also create beautiful things. Music and art and poetry. You're not simple. You're incredibly complex. Taehyun listened without interrupting. And I learned about the restrictions. The protocols. All the rules that force humans to hide what you are. The weight regulations. The grip limiters. The mandatory equipment. You live in a cage made of rules, and you do it willingly because you want to be part of the Empire. We do want that, Taehyun confirmed. The Empire gave us peace. After the last war, we were terrified we'd destroy ourselves. Joining a bigger civilization gave us structure, purpose, something beyond our own survival. But we don't treat you like equals. We treat you like dangerous children who need to be managed. Some do. Not all. Ambassador Dongwu says things are getting better. Slowly. Draft. Lu. Not fast enough. Hana leaned forward. I want to change things. I know I'm just one princess. I don't have much real power. But I can speak to the council. I can propose new policies. I can make people listen. Why? Taehyun asked. Why do you care now? It was a fair question. Hana thought about how to answer honestly. Because I saw you save someone while I stood there helpless. Because I realized that all the power I thought I had, my title, my status, my royal blood, it didn't matter. I couldn't help. But you could. You risked your life without hesitation to save someone you didn't even know. She met his eyes. Because I saw real strength for the first time in my life. And it wasn't in the palace. It was in a human guard who endured my insults with patience and dignity. Taehyun was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "Thank you. That means more than you know. Will you help me? I want to propose changes to the council. Better accommodations for heavy worlders. Reduced restrictions on equipment. Recognition of human military service. But I need someone who understands the reality. Someone who lives it. That's not really my area. I'm a soldier, not a politician. You're a teacher now. I watched you with those students. You know how to explain things. How to make people understand." He considered this. "What exactly are you proposing?" Hana pulled out a datapad. "I've drafted a proposal. Main points. Recognize humans as full Empire members, not clients. Allow heavy worlders to have unregulated spaces in major cities where they can remove restrictions. Require education about different species in all Imperial schools. And immediate recognition of all human veterans with full honors." Taehyun read through the document carefully. "This is good. Really good. But you'll face resistance. A lot of people benefit from the current system. I know. That's why I need help. Not just from you. From other humans. From Ambassador Dongwu. From anyone who wants things to be better. You understand this might not work?" The council moves slowly. They don't like change. Then we'll be patient. Humans are good at that, right? I watched you stand still while I mocked you. You didn't break. You waited. If you can do that, I can wait for the council to see reason. Taehyun smiled. It was the first real smile she'd seen from him. "You've changed, Your Highness. You're different from 3 days ago. I hope so. I don't want to be that person anymore. The one who judges without understanding. Who hurts people because she can. Then you're already better." He stood up. "I'll help you. I'll talk to the ambassador. We'll put together a presentation for the council. But I have one condition." "What?" "What? You have to visit Earth someday. See where we come from. Walk in 1.4 gravity for a full day. Understand what we carry with us everywhere." Hana stood too, though the higher gravity made it harder. "I will. I promise. Maybe it will help me understand better." "It will. Nothing teaches like experience. Come please." They shook hands. Hana was very aware that Taehyun was being gentle with his grip, that he was controlling his strength out of consideration for her. 3 days ago, she would have thought that made him weak. Now she understood. It made him careful, disciplined, strong enough to be gentle. "Thank you for giving me a chance," she said. "I don't deserve your forgiveness." "Maybe not," Taehyun agreed. "But I'm giving it anyway. That's what we do. We look forward, not back. We build, instead of destroying. That's how we survived. That's how the Empire will survive too." As Hana left the installation, her legs shaking from the effort of walking in higher gravity, she thought about his words. Building instead of destroying. Looking forward instead of back. The Empire had been looking back for too long. Living on old glory, old assumptions, old prejudices. Maybe it was time to build something new. 6 months had passed since the night of the Convergence Gala. The palace ballroom had been rebuilt with reinforced floors that could handle 3 times the normal weight. The engineers had learned from their mistake. But more than just the floor had changed. Hana stood before the Imperial Council in the great chamber where laws were debated and policies decided. 12 council members sat in a semicircle, representing the major worlds of the Empire. Her father, Emperor Taeyang, sat at the center. "Honored council members," Hana began. "I come before you today to propose a change in how we classify and treat human members of our empire." Councilmember Daejung, an elderly Vraxian known for traditional views, spoke first. "Princess, This matter was settled 47 years ago. Humanity was granted client status. This status gives them protection and benefits. Why revisit it now? Because client status also restricts them. It treats them as less than full members. And I believe this is wrong. Another council member, young me, leaned forward. With respect, Your Highness. Heavy worlders require special protocols. These aren't punishments. They're safety measures. Safety for whom? Hana challenged. The protocols don't make humans safer. They make us feel safer around them. There's a difference. Ambassador Dongwu sat in the observer section, not allowed to speak unless called upon. But Hana saw him nod slightly. She was saying what he'd been trying to say for years. Hana activated the holographic display. Images filled the air. I want to show you something. These are human soldiers serving in our military. This is Tae-hyun, who some of you may remember from the gala incident. The council members shifted uncomfortably. The incident had been embarrassing for everyone. Tae-hyun served in the border wars before joining the embassy guard. His record shows 47 confirmed combat actions, 12 commendations, and 0 disciplinary issues. He saved 23 fellow soldiers during a station evacuation. He held a defensive position for 72 hours without relief. 1. More images appeared. Other human soldiers. Other records of service. This is Corporal Ji-woo. She carried 3 wounded Vraxian soldiers to safety through hostile territory. This is Lieutenant Sung-min. He defused a bomb on a civilian station with only seconds to spare. This is Private Hyun-jung. She donated her own blood to save an injured Krethek warrior, even though their species had been enemies days before. Hana let the images speak for themselves for a moment. Then she continued. Every human serving in our military has a story like this. Stories of courage, sacrifice, and dedication. Yet we call them clients. We restrict them. We make them wear equipment to limit their natural abilities. Because those abilities make us uncomfortable. Those abilities are dangerous. Councilmember Dae-jung insisted. The gala incident proved that. The gala incident proved that our infrastructure wasn't prepared for diversity. We built everything for ourselves and then complained when others didn't fit perfectly. That's not their failure. All their weather everything. When stated Part 47:15 sp. It's ours. Emperor Taeyang spoke for the first time. What exactly are you proposing, daughter? Hana took a breath. This was the crucial moment. I propose 5 changes. First, recognize humans as full Empire members, with all rights and privileges. Second, create designated areas in all major cities where heavy worlders can exist without restrictions. Third, require education about all member species in imperial schools. Fourth, grant full honors and benefits to all human veterans. And fifth, establish a review board with human representation to assess protocols and suggest improvements. The council members began talking among themselves. Some looked interested. Others looked skeptical. Council member Young Mi raised her hand for quiet. These are significant changes, Your Highness. They would affect policies across the entire empire. What makes you think they're necessary? Because I've seen what happens when we treat people as less than they are. I did it myself. Hana's voice was steady, but emotional. I mocked Tae-hyun. I humiliated him in front of hundreds of people. I treated him like he was nothing. And he could have hurt me. Easily. He had the strength to break me with one hand. But he didn't. Do you know why? Why? Youngmi asked. Because he's disciplined. Because he's good. Because he's better than I was. And that's true of every human in the Empire. They could demand respect through force. They could refuse to follow restrictions. But they don't. They choose to cooperate, to adapt, to be patient. They choose to be gentle, even when it costs them. Hana looked directly at her father. And we repay that gentleness with contempt. We take their patience as weakness. We mock their restraint. It's shameful. The chamber was quiet. Finally, Council Member Daejung spoke. You said you've changed your mind about humans. When did this change happen? The night Taehyun saved young Lord Minsu's life. The night I watched him cross a collapsing floor to rescue someone he'd never met. The night I realized that true strength isn't about power. It's about choosing when to use it and when not to. Ambassador Dongwu was called to speak. He stood slowly, his old body tired from years of fighting this same fight. Honored council members, I've served as human ambassador for 20 years. I've filed hundreds of reports about incidents of discrimination, about unnecessary restrictions, about talented humans being passed over for positions because of their species. Every report has been acknowledged and filed away. Nothing has changed. He looked at Hana with something like hope. But today, maybe that changes. The princess is right. Humans have proven themselves 1,000 times over. We've bled for the Empire. We've built for the Empire. We've followed every rule and regulation, even when those rules made no sense. We've done everything asked of us. When will it be enough? Emperor Taeyang was silent for a long time. Everyone waited. Finally, he spoke. I voted to accept humanity into the Empire 47 years ago. I was the only council member who did. The others thought humans were too violent, too unstable, too new. I disagreed. I thought humanity's ability to choose peace after such terrible war showed character. He stood up. But I was outvoted. Humanity was accepted only as clients. I accepted this compromise because some membership was better than none. But perhaps it's time to reconsider. The other council members looked shocked. The emperor rarely took such direct positions. I support my daughter's proposal. Not all of it, perhaps. We must move carefully. But the core idea is sound. Humanity has earned full membership. Let's give them what they've earned. Council member Youngmi nodded slowly. I agree. But I suggest we implement the changes gradually. Start with the honor recognition for veterans. Then, expand the restricted areas. Then, consider full membership status. Gradual change is still change, Hana said. I accept that. The council voted. It took 3 hours of debate. But when the final count was taken, 8 members supported beginning the process of upgrading human status. Only 4 opposed. It wasn't everything Hana had hoped for. But it was a start. After the session, Taehyun was waiting in the hallway. He'd been watching from the observation gallery. You did it. We did it. This was your story as much as mine. No. You're the one who stood in front of the council. You're the one who convinced them. Active, Hana smiled. I learned from a good teacher. Someone who showed me that patience and discipline can change things that force never could. They walked together through the palace. Hana noticed that people stared less at Taehyun now. Word had spread about the council decision. About the changes coming. The human guard wasn't just a curiosity anymore. He was a symbol of something new. What will you do now? Hana asked. Will you stay at the installation? For a while. I like teaching. But Ambassador Dongwu asked me to join the diplomatic corps. Help train other species guards. Show them human combat techniques. I'm thinking about it. You should do it. You're good at helping people understand. Maybe. What about you? What's next for the princess, who changed the empire? Hana laughed. I haven't changed the empire. I've just started pushing it in a new direction. There's still so much work to do. They reached the garden, where a transport waited to take Taehyun back to the installation. Before he left, Hana had one more thing to say. I'm visiting Earth next month, like you suggested. My father thinks it's a good idea for me to see where humans come from. I'm a little scared, honestly. The gravity, the weather, everything I've read makes it sound intense. It is intense, but it's beautiful too. You'll see. Will you come with me? As a guide? Taehyun smiled. I'd be honored, Your Highness. Not Your Highness, just Hana. All right, Hana. He tested the name. And I'm just Taehyun. They shook hands. Hana felt his strength, carefully controlled. She thought about how much had changed in 6 months, how much one conversation, one incident, one choice to really see someone had led to all this. Thank you, she said, for being patient with me. Thank you for being willing to learn. Not everyone is. The transport left. Hana stood in the garden, watching it go. She thought about the future, about the changes that were coming, about how the empire would look in 10 years, 20 years, 50 years. It wouldn't be perfect. Change never was. There would be resistance. There would be problems. There would be people who refused to accept the new policies, but there would also be progress. Slowly, carefully, the empire would become something better, something more inclusive, something that valued all its people, not just the ones who fit easily into the existing structure. Hana had learned something important from Taehyun and all the humans in the empire. You didn't need to be the strongest to make a difference. You didn't need overwhelming power to change things. You just needed to decide not to give up. You needed patience, discipline, and the courage to admit when you were wrong and try to be better. That was real strength. That was what would build a better empire. And so the work continued. One conversation at a time. One policy at a time. One changed mind at a time. The floor had cracked, but something new was being built on top of it. Something stronger. Something that could handle the weight of all the empire's people, no matter where they came from or how heavy they were. The future was uncertain. But for the first time in a long time, both Hana and Taehyun believed it could be good, and that belief, that hope, was where all real change began. In a garden outside the palace, under light from distant stars, a princess and a soldier had become friends. They'd shown each other new ways of seeing the world. They'd learned that differences could be strengths instead of problems, and the empire, ancient and proud and set in its ways, had taken its first small steps toward becoming something greater, not through war, not through conquest, but through understanding, through respect, through the simple choice to see each other as equals. And sometimes, that's all it takes to change everything.